Hello and welcome to the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagoner. I'm your host, Jack Wagoner, and here we talk about how to build, create, share, and just find the gratefulness that's in your life and how to bring it to your everyday life to just feel happier, healthier, and better overall. When you're grateful for something, I truly believe that just increases the quality of your life and how you're feeling with yourself. So that is my mission with this podcast. Hey, and welcome back to the Grateful Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Wagoner, and as always, I'm just so grateful to be here and recording this podcast and doing what I love. So, today I'd like to start a tradition of starting each podcast off with something that I'm grateful for. And this morning, I'm feeling really grateful to have woken up and taken a cold shower and meditated and just feeling very present. And I'm grateful for the moment that we have right now and to just be here and living, and making this and making my dreams get closer by just taking one step at a time. Today's episode, I'm going to be focusing on really connecting to your inner dialogue. So what your thoughts are saying to you and genuinely understanding who you are. I believe that this is extremely important, and I actually don't know if I can explain in words how important I believe that this is, especially right now in this day and age. Oh, we got a little cat showing up right here. What's up, buddy? All right. I don't know if I can explain in words how important this is to me, especially in this day and age where every little pause and every little time is filled up with something, such as pulling out your phone and scrolling through social media. We have so much exterior input to our thoughts. I'm not sure how much we really are in tune with our inner dialogue, if you know what I'm saying. The quantity of just this exterior stimulation is massive. I was looking at this article by Exploding Topics. If you don't know what Exploding Topics is, it's basically just a website of statistics that are pretty accurate and update really frequently. It's a really handy website to just be able to check some stuff out. But they have some updated studies that show that the average person in the world in general spends 6 hours and 58 minutes per day staring at a screen. I mean, I'm even a part of this right now with just my computer, reading my notes, and using my phone as a microphone. But this is an insane number to me because we have 24 hours in a day. That's nearly 1/3 of the time we're awake, and the other third is normally spent sleeping. So that's just 1/3 of the day just being connected with the world around you. It's 1/3 of your time. It's not just 1/3 of your day, because that's an average of every day. That's 1/3 of your year. It's 1/3 of your life. That's an insane thing to think about. So, the average Gen Z kid, my generation, we spend an average of 9 hours on a screen per day. And that's just crazy. Okay, that's 2 hours more a day. And you might think, 2 hours more a day, it's not too much. But on a weekly level, that's 14 hours more. And these time, I'm just throwing out numbers. But the thing is, this is real time that people are spending. This is real time that people are not being present in their lives and living. And this is all screen time, right? So I don't think it didn't include TVs and stuff, or it included playing video games. But I don't know if it included watching a movie on your TV. It was about split half and half with social media and telephone and computers. But I think we have to remember that not all this time is bad. Like right now, I'm using my computer to help read my notes for this work. Some people do work on their computers. it's not all bad. We can't judge it all. Just like anything, we can ungroup it. But it's just an insane number. And what's crazy to me, when I took a long pause earlier, I was thinking about this, but I couldn't word it. This is 7 hours per day on a world average of every person. But do you know how many people out there don't have access to telephones and screens? So I wonder what the average of someone who does is, because there's many third world countries where you don't have the access we do to screens and all that stuff. But yeah, that's an insane thing. In the US, it was 7 hours and 2 minutes. So pretty on par with just the world scale. But I think I don't want to get preoccupied on that subject of just screens. But what it leads me to talk about is, with all this time occupied doing something else, playing video games, scrolling on social media, it leads us to the question, at least leads me to the question of how much time do we actually have with ourselves, where we're alone, where we are with our thoughts and we're actually with us. I would like you all to notice every time something stops during your day, every time you have one of those in-between periods. For example, you're at a meal with someone and they get up to go to the bathroom, or you're in line waiting for something. What do you choose to do? What do you do? Every slow moment, every time you're in a room with people you don't know or have a quick break, what do you do? And if you're like the majority of people, I don't have stats on this, but I think we all know what I'm talking about. That if you're like the majority of people, you will pull out your cell phone, check your messages, scroll on Instagram for a second, right? You will fill it up. And I do this too, honestly. It's something that's become so normal in this culture. And it's something I've been really trying to notice with myself and work on. Because I just don't think that this is a healthy way of living. And all these little moments have to be filled up with dopamine hits, right? What these actions say to me is that if I'm doing this, I'm not comfortable being just by myself with me, which in my case is really not true. So I should just let myself be without filling in these gaps, because I'm not actually extracting any value from these moments. I'm just increasing my brain's want and crave for this dopamine that's coming through these weird ways, like scrolling through social media and getting those little squirts of dopamine, right? But that's just decreasing my baseline, or I'm not sure what way it goes, but it's making my body crave more of that and just increasing the addiction to pleasure, when what I want to do with my life is do hard tasks that require a level of dopamine that is not constantly craving hits, right? I don't know if that's necessarily how that works. I've been doing research on this, but I think it's more that you have to decrease you have to just slowly decrease how much pleasure and how much input of dopamine your brain gets in order to let more boring tasks be enough pleasure. I want to start off talking about this. I watched a video made by Rian Doris. He is an expert on flow state. I think he's the co-founder of something called Flow State Collective, with the author of The Rise of Superman, a very famous book on flow state. His name's Steven Kotler, the author. And in this video, Rian, he was talking about how this constant dopamine at any boring point, it's what zaps your motivation. Think about it, okay? When you get a break from work or school, you're most likely to start scrolling on your social media. We already talked about this, but this was what he said. Whatever you do most likely involves doing something more pleasurable, more rewarding to your brain than your work, right? But when you do something that's more rewarding than your work, that zaps your focus and fills your brain with this dopamine that tells you that this task is what you should be doing. This is what's rewarding you. This is more pleasurable. But it kind of tricks you into thinking this is what's more rewarding, right? Because dopamine, it is the chemical of reward. So now you can't concentrate on your work or your school or whatever it is you're doing when you go back, because your brain is so preoccupied thinking that this task was the best. For example, let's say you play Angry Birds during your 5-minute break. That was the most random example, but your brain's going to be thinking, wait, no, I should be playing Angry Birds. I shouldn't be preparing this presentation on my work. No, I should be playing Angry Birds. It's more pleasurable. It's more rewarding for me. But no, right? You know that's not true, but it's what you've been tricked to think, because you're not taking boring breaks. You're taking time that's filling up your mind. And with all this filling up your mind, how much do we really know what we think inside? There was a study in 2014 published by Science magazine where Timothy Wilson, a social psychologist at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, brought in hundreds of volunteers, where the volunteers would be given think periods ranging from 6 to 15 minutes. They were told to put away all their belongings, most notably their cell phones, and they were left alone with their thoughts for the period assigned to them. Now, this is why I'm talking about this, because we're talking about how people are always filling up their time, right? But that does not leave us with time with our thoughts. We really don't understand ourselves. And why is this? Well, apparently, according to the study, people are insanely uncomfortable with being alone with their thoughts. Afterwards, after this study, the participants had to rate the experience, and over 50% said they did not enjoy it and they were extremely bored. The team of researchers took this experience a little further, a little later, and they added a button where the participant could choose to shock themselves, an electric shock. They would press the button, get electrically shocked, but they would get out of the experience. Before this, whatever you can call it, challenge, every single participant said that they would have to be paid money in order to electrically shock themselves. Yet, 67% of men and 25% of women pushed that button. They chose to electrically shock themselves over being alone with their thoughts for a maximum of 15 minutes. That's how much they need exterior entertainment. That's how uncomfortable they are with themselves. Also, it's fair to note that this was 9 years ago. No, 10 years ago now, because 2014 and we're in 2024. So I don't see any data seeing that any addictions of exterior entertainment or social media or video game, any of that's gone down. I only see data that says it's gone up, which leads me to believe that these numbers is 67% of men, 25% of women, it would just have gone up. More people would have chosen to shock themselves. And I'm not sure what the difference in gender is about. That was kind of an interesting point when I read that, but they didn't talk about that. But this idea literally shocks me. You get it? That's a funny pun. How are people this uncomfortable with who they are? How do they know who they are if they can't spend 15 minutes with themselves? I just, everyone knows AirPods. I have them in my pocket right now, right? It's some type of headphone. But what these headphones have led people to do, got them right here, right? But what these headphones have led people to do is they're always listening to something that isn't the world around them. And I'm such... I do this, right? On all my bike rides, I'm always listening to something. I'm always... excuse me. I'm always listening to a podcast or listening to a book or trying to fill my brain with educational information to get smarter, or I'm listening to something in French, or sometimes I'm just listening to music or whatever. In every free moment, if I fill it up with this space, how do I know what's in my head? And how do I know what my ideas are? This is something that really hit me hard. I had a meditation where I was just trying to be really aware of what I was thinking. And when I thought about what I was thinking, it's funny. I realized so many of these ideas in my head are ideas I've heard from other people. They're not original at all. At all. I'm going to be honest. So many of the ideas that I'm spitting here right now are not original, right? You can see I'm reading off this. I have studies here. I do take in so much information. I love to read books. It's not saying that all information is bad. I just think that we do too much of it. We consume too much of it. I think that's a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my computer because, I think I should be original today. I think I should talk originally because that's what I'm talking about. Humans don't know what's in their head. We don't know what we're thinking a lot of the times. And if you don't know what you're thinking and who you are, then how can you take actions that align with who you are? How can you take actions to go where you want to go if you don't know where you want to go? I want you to think about your dreams and what you're doing right now, or just what you would love to do in the future. And try to get to the root of that. Get to the root of why that is what you would like to do in the future, why that is your dream. Maybe not, but I bet a lot of the time these dreams are things that you view as success through society's eyes, because this is what you've been taught to think is success. For example, if your dream is to start a business and create a 6-figure income and have like passive work, right? Okay, maybe that is a part of your dream. I would love that for me. I bet a lot of people would love that for themselves. But why you think that? You probably think that because you saw this on social media, right? But when you really think about your dreams, is that what you want? For me, I know that a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, I was feeling kind of confused. Not necessarily like really confused, just I knew that what was in my head wasn't genuinely, they weren't genuinely my thoughts. But I wanted to find my thoughts. I wanted to get to the root of what I was thinking. So I picked up a journal and I just started writing. I spent some time. Bless you, me. So I spent some time alone, and then I meditated, just tried to get with my thoughts, and I just started writing. And I just kept writing and just kept going. Okay, what is it that you want in life? All right, boom, wrote it down. Why? All right, boom, wrote it down. How can you do it? All right, boom, wrote it down. Went on that like that for about an hour and a half. And it got me feeling very, very clear. Because I spent time alone with myself with no exterior input, getting to understand who I am and what I really want in my life. Because when we're constantly filling our time with little bits and pieces of information, and we really lose, we can lose what our brain's telling us and what we're telling ourselves. How much of, like, for example, how much of me wanting to go to Stanford comes from external just chatter that I've heard. Oh, this is the best school, blah, 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 blah. This school, you go to this school, you're so smart. And how much of it is actually, yeah, I really want to go there. I really want to go there. And I think I really want to go there. But who knows? I want to keep talking to myself about that because I don't want to make decisions that are based off the societal lens, per se, that are based off what society paints as something successful. I want to go off what I believe is success. I think so often we think these external things bring us happiness when really it's just what we have inside, and it's these other certain values. It's the fulfillment of certain values. For example, do you really want to live on... do you really want to like live in Fiji on a beach all the time, right? Or do you just... because what's that bring you, right? That brings you amazing weather and leisure. Or what you really want is, do you just want like leisure? Do you just want to be able to relax and enjoy life? And you can do that in so many other ways. We box ourselves in with what society tells us is amazing, but we really just want the fulfillment of certain values. So many times you can look at what you want, and what you really want is just freedom or love or people around you that love you, but you think that the way you get that is through so many actions. But I just really encourage you to spend some time with yourself and get to the root of why you want what you want and what you really want. And I guess I feel a little bit hypocritical right now because I'm telling you to stop filling up all your time, but right now you're probably listening to me while you're driving a car, or I don't know. You're listening to me to learn, and I think it's such a thing I have to touch on. It's that, like, yeah, learning is amazing too, and I'm not saying to stop that. Just saying to be aware. I think just be aware of all your time and what you're doing with it, because being alone is important too, and so is learning. But just be aware. Don't tip the scale. Keep it balanced. Balance is so important, and stay grateful too, because just if you're grateful for, as we say on this podcast, if you're just grateful enough to notice the magnitude of moments alone, maybe you won't feel the need to fill them up all the time. You can just be like, yeah, this is cool. I'm grateful that I have this moment. All right, it was a little shorter today, but I just love this topic and talking about it. It's something that's really been on my mind, and I hope that today you get to spend some time for yourself. Just carve that out, Yeah. Love you all. So grateful that you're listening to this podcast. Thank you. Bye. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagoner. If you like the podcast and would like to support its growth, please consider subscribing to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out my YouTube channel under my name and see all of the positive content that I've put out there. Thank you so much, and I hope to get to see you next week. Love you all. Bye.